Hello and welcome to another Elden Ring class build stream with me, Impact 101 Gaming, where we'll be looking at a build called Dark Moon Knight. Become the Knight of Ranni the Witch and freeze the air around you. A strength and intelligence build utilising the Dark Moon Greatsword and cold sorceries to deal frost build up to your enemies. Before we dive into this build, I'd like to ask if you can follow my Twitch channel or drop a like or subscription to my YouTube channel for the latest content. Thank you very much. I'll be adding all the build specs into the description of the video, so please go and check that out. Right, now into the build. So the preferred stats that I use for this build for a level 200 and for a new game plus. Figure anywhere over 45 plus, mind 40 plus, endurance 40 plus. Also strength, anything 60 is a good number, but anything over is pretty good. So minimum of 16. Dexterity you don't really need, so I've got about a 12. What I would use for this build, but a minimum of 11. Intelligence 80 plus, higher the intelligence the better. A minimum of 73 on your intelligence. Faith and arcane, you can have anything on them, they don't really matter too much. The build is mainly to do with sorceries, and the sword itself scales on strength and intelligence. So intelligence, it will scale better for damage, so definitely want that higher. Spells wise, mostly frost damage, so the Moonblade is pretty decent. Icecrag for a bit of distance. Ranni's Dark Moon, fantastic spell. It deals cold damage, and also it dispels any sorceries that it touches, and temporarily reduces magic damage negation for whoever it strikes. And this one's not cold damage, but it's a fantastic NPC spell to use. Rellana's Twin Moons, and then Freezing Mist and Soon Ice Storm is also fantastic spells to use for this build. We're going to look into the flasks. Flasks for this one definitely want a ratio of 10 to 4 Crimson to Cerulean health to magic, or you can either do an 8 to 6 would be fine as well. And then you mix temporary boosts magic attack and eliminates all FP consumption. The eliminate of the MP is brilliant because you can throw about 2 moons before any consumption is made. Fantastic against bosses. Talismans, Grave Man Talisman increases the potency of sorceries. It's a must. Beloved Stardust, you can either use this one or Redigan's Icon. I use this one purely because of the speed it is. You do take more damage, but it's not something you need to worry about too much. Shard of Alexander for the skill. I'll go over the Ashen War skill in a minute. It's fantastic with this great sword. And slowly recovers FP. It's not necessary, but it's really useful for this build, especially for this great sword if you are taking out small numbers of enemies, and I'll show you in a minute why. Armor, it's mainly Blaidd's armor set, coat, arms and legs, armor, and then I use the Snow Witch hat to increase the cold sorceries. If you don't like it for the visual effect, you can always just put anything that you like on. Realistically, you can even go for Blaidd's heads as well. Great Moon Dark Moon Greatsword. This is a greatsword you get from Ranni. It's fantastic with the cold damage it does. The unique skill Moonlight Greatsword raises the sword aloft, bathing it in a light of dark moon, temporarily increasing magic attack power, and imbues the blade with frost. You charging attacks release blast of moonlight. It's a slow attacking weapon. Fantastic on stagger damage. So Ashen of War lights up the sword, and then with charge attacks you shoot out arcs. And with the talisman, you will see in the top left that my FP will raise, and what that means is that I can use this as much as I can, and the point of when it runs out is the point where it refills. So if you don't use any spells, you can continuously use this Ashen of War as much as you want from the point of start to finish. That's why I use that specific talisman, the Blessed Blue Druid Talisman, for this build. But against bosses, I would change that out for something more relevant for the boss. Looking at the sorceries now, so by using the Glintstone staff of Lusat, you will be enhancing the power of all sorceries, but it consumes additional FP. Not really the biggest issue in the world. The Moonblade. Does what it does on the tin. Cold sorceries. The range on it's not fantastic for the Icecrag, but it's pretty effective when need be. And with Dark Moon, just fires and follows the moon. With the amount of mind I have, there's 2 throws, but if you increase it to a point, you probably get about 3 out of it. Rellana's Twin Moons. It's like a slam on the ground kind of attack. Fantastic against NPCs. Freezing Mist. Just create a mist. Anything inside of that will continuously take damage and build up frost. And Ice Storm makes a whirlwind of wind and snow around you, which continuously takes damage. Self-absorbing spell. So looking at how to collect most of this build. So the armor you collect is mainly from the Ranni the Witch questline. The Snow Witch hat you gain from Ranni's Rise, which is just up here. You have to go far enough into the quest line to actually open that to get to a teleporter. That takes you further into the game. And the rest of the armor for Blaidd's armor, you end up fighting the wolf guy out here. Once you kill him, you get his armor. Let me show you where Ranni Rise is. That big building over there. Just go over there. There's also a dragon that you fight in this area. A dragon that basically uses frost powers. By killing that, you unlock the Moonblade spell, and the Frost Moonblade, which is a really essential part to this build actually. It's one of the biggest sorceries that I use. It's even good enough to swap out the sword and just use that with a shield if you wanted to. So within the Ranni the Riser here, you would just follow the building all the way up to the top, and there's a chest, you open it up, and then that's where you get that. The next thing we're going to be looking at is where we would get the Dark Moon Greatsword, which once again is part of Ranni's Ranni the Witch's questline. It's one of the last things that you get from it. So after entering this area, you'll find yourself coming towards the cathedral up here. You would find your way down here. You would find Ranni down here. Once you talk to her, by the broken fingers, after completing her quest line, she will drop the sword for you. Just there. The next item would be the Glintstone staff of Lusat. You'll find after killing bosses, duo bosses of Sorceress and Nox Priest in this area, in this chest here is where you would find the staff. Spell wise for for the Twin Moon spell within the DLC, once you've killed Rellana from here in this battle, you go to the Finger Merchant with the soul, the remnants of the Twin Moon Knight. You can then select that spell for your own. And Ranni's Dark Moon, you will find at this rise, Sherlone's Rose, which is just up. Once you gain access to it, just here, it's in the chest at the top. And that is the majority of where to find the build and stuff. I used this build when I completed this run through that I am at the end of now, and the DLC. I've done the whole DLC with it. Frost damage in the DLC is actually really useful and a lot of fun. I would recommend a Frost build. It's very different to most builds. Go into yeah, so I'll try and get some gameplay for you of how this build works in battle scenarios. Go to the Erd Troopers. There's I'll go to a later game part of it. Let's have a look. Yeah. To be fair, if you've played a lot of Dark Souls, you would see a lot of memes and a lot of suggestions towards the Dark Moon weapon tree. Just because of how good it is. So the arcs themselves are pretty decent. The range of most of the spells pretty good. For instance, good grouping. Struck a moon at someone. It just using the Ashen of War really does boost the attack power. I said the only downfall is probably the speed of it, but once you've played with it enough, you can get used to it quite quickly. So coming up to a tough enemy, normally best outcome is to drink potion, get your 3 moons, get your 2 moons out of it for free, deal enough damage, and now we can finish it off. Probably what I like about this build is that you can, with the Flasks, you can really utilise the abilities of all spells, and with the power up from the Ashen of War, just makes it a whole lot of fun. So the next build I will be looking at is I've actually made 2 dragon type builds, polar opposite of each other. So you got the internal dragon, which is using dragon communal spells and becoming a dragon. So, and then the other one is dragon hunter. It's where all weapons at the disposal deal increased damage to dragons. So I think it's something about 30 or 20% more damage to dragons. So contrasting builds to each other, but gonna be a lot of fun to make. So do check that out when I do eventually make those videos. I will be adding all the specs to the description of the video, so anything that you might have missed will be on there. And thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Hey!